Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dave from PVD Horror, and today I'm going to be doing some film reviews on two films from Vertigo Releasing that are going to be getting some UK release dates. So basically, the reason why I'm doing this is I know that obviously we're here in the US, I'm in the lovely state of Rhode Island, but at times we do get reached out from some uh, release companies of other countries and things like that. And basically, they offered us the opportunity to review these films. And one I already know got a US release date, but I figured I would offer this review regardless. And then the other one is a newer film that has a UK release date, and I don't actually know if it has a US release date yet. So I will have to follow up on that one and possibly make a post when it does. But the two films are Amongst Wolves, which is like an Irish crime thriller, and Consecration, which is a religious horror. So I'll talk about Amongst Wolves first. So again, these are Vertigo Releasing that are in this one's in association with Wildcard Distribution, and it's going to have a UK digital release on June 2nd. Again, I don't know the US release, so I apologize for that. This is directed by Irish director Mark O'Connor, and it stars Aidan Gillen of Game of Thrones and Luke McQuillan, also of Game of Thrones. And Luke McQuillan and Mark O'Connor actually co-wrote the story together. So the story itself is about a man named Danny, who is played by Luke McQuillan, and he is homeless on the streets of Dublin, and he is kind of like battling this past that he has, and he's just constantly kind of in this mode of survival and facing challenges. He has these memories of being in the Royal Irish Army in Afghanistan, and he also had this really tragic accident that took place at his home where he fell asleep with a cigarette in his hand, which caused the house to burn. And while he was watching his son, the son actually had some damaged lungs from the smoke. Luckily, they survived, but this caused him to lose custody of his child. So now he's in this custody battle with him and his child's mother. And he's just kind of going through the worst possible time you could imagine, right? So he ends up encountering this young man named Will, who's on the run or just kind of wrapped up with this drug gang, and essentially he's trying to take him under his wing and trying to protect him and teach him some things. And obviously, with this drug gang involved, that's kind of hard. So Danny ends up, having to battle some stuff in order to kind of protect Will. And, some stuff happens after that. We'll just say that. So this was interesting. When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, this feels like something I should review for PVD Horror. I don't see why not. And there was some action, there was some violence, some thriller stuff like in the trailer. So I was like, oh, this seems appropriate. When I watched the film, the tone was a lot different than the trailer, I will say. And I'm not going to say that's a bad thing because I'm not just a fan of horror, but obviously for a horror podcast, obviously I'm looking for something specific. But with that being said, it's still worthwhile to review, and I will, kind of go into that a little bit. So the movie itself takes a lot of different like tonal shifts throughout the film. There's a lot of build up to like this big climax in the end. And a lot of the movie kind of plays out almost like a drama at times, but then other times is like this gang drug movie, and then other times, or at the very end, I should say, kind of like we see the thriller aspect of it, and there's some action scenes in the end and a little bit of revenge or whatever. So the end kind of definitely, picks up and makes it worthwhile for people who like that kind of stuff. But if you like drama and you like kind of like gang stuff, like there's plenty of that in the early parts of the film that will make this a worthwhile watch for you. The acting was really good in this film. All the performances, I think, were great. Danny's character was, just believable as someone who's struggling, but kind of hardened. He just has had so much happen in his past, and you really kind of get empathy for this guy, and you want him to do okay, but you kind of see like there's just one challenge after another, um, and you feel for him. So I liked the performances, I liked the actors. Um, from what I hear, this was made on a rather small budget. And considering that, this film looked great. The cinematography was good. The overall film quality was good. It was shot really well. I would never have guessed that this was a small budget film. It just really, when I learned that after watching, I just did not, that didn't compute to me. So never during the film was like, oh, this is like low budget or anything like that. That didn't come up for me at all. Uh, there's lots of themes present in this film. So we have like homelessness, we have guilt, we have grief, we have, getting wrong involved with the wrong people, we have PTSD, we have custody battles, drugs, uh, revenge. It just digs into so much, which honestly could be to the detriment of this film, but also for someone like me, I can appreciate a movie that's willing to touch on even a fraction of some of these themes. So like I don't mind films that get into all these different things. I do like movies that sometimes like has a message or kind of dabbles in psychology stuff. Like that's kind of my stuff. I love that. But I feel like one of the things that I probably would say is a critique of this film is there's almost too much going on. There's too many different things, and at times the movie felt like it didn't know what direction it wanted to go in. But as I said, like Danny's struggle in the film was definitely one I had empathy for. He basically makes one mistake that navigates him through like on this difficult path for the remainder of his life. And it's kind of heartbreaking to think that anytime that could be a reality for any one of us, and for many people that probably is. And throw in being a veteran and all the other stuff that goes along with that. I mean, you can feel for this guy, and it's actually kind of a believable character. Like that, there's people that are walking around that are probably just like Danny. So that part I was on board with. I like the character development with him. But like I said, sometimes the movie just felt like it didn't know what direction it wanted to go in. Um, but it was intriguing. I think the one gripe that I have with the film is it lacks fulfillment until the very end. Like it takes us a long time to get that thing that we were probably looking for when we watched a trailer. And that's probably why I never watch trailers, because like I don't want to have an expectation of a film. I kind of like going in blind, and I didn't because I wanted to see, if this what this film was about beforehand. And I kind of regretted that because I probably would have viewed this movie in a different way had I not. But I kept kind of going back to that trailer and saying, well, this wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. With that being said, what we see at the climax scene at the end is very satisfying, and it's going to leave people who enjoy thrillers feeling satisfied. It just takes us a bit to get there. But overall, I gotta say I enjoyed the film. It takes patience, and you have to have an interest in human interaction and the human struggle to really invest yourself. But if you have interest in those things and you have patience, I think you're going to like enjoy what you get in this film. I think you'll appreciate it. I think you'll walk away kind of with something to think over, maybe kind of sit with after and process. So if this sounds like something that you would be interested in, I encourage you to check it out if you get the opportunity. I'm also a sucker for like Irish based, like Ireland based movies for whatever reason. And that aspect of it kind of got me too. I do like enjoy all the accents and everything like that. So that was another element for me that I enjoyed. So yeah, Amongst the Wolves, June 2nd in the UK release. US, we're just going to have to keep an eye out, or maybe it's already available. I don't even know. Actually, I tried looking up, I didn't really find anything. So someone else might know better, and feel free to kind of leave a comment here if you do know better. All right, on to our second film. Also from Vertigo Releasings, we have Consecration. And this is going to release on digital platforms on June 16th. But for my US audience, I will tell you this is actually already available as far as I know. And I think it actually released in 2023 in a limited theater release. It might be on Hulu now. That's kind of what I saw when I looked this up to see where you could watch this. But as I mentioned in the UK, it's going to be available on digital platforms on June 16th. It stars Jenna Malone, which you guys will all know from a number of movies. Donnie Darko, The Hunger Games, so many more. And Danny, I hope I say his last name correct, Huston, who was in The Aviator, Children of Men, 21 Grams, three amazing films right there. Actually, 21 Grams, not a horror movie at all. I freaking love that movie. Children of Men, another one. Clive Owen's awesome in that film and so many other ones. And The Aviator is obviously an awesome film. And Danny is actually one of those actors that if you don't know his name and you can't think of what character he might have been in all those, as soon as you see his face, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know that dude. He's been in everything. So he is phenomenal. The plot summary for this film: after a suspicious death of her brother, a priest, Grace goes to the Mount Savior convent in Scotland to find out what really happened. Once there, she uncovers murder, sacrilege, and a disturbing truth about her own past. That is an understatement. She learns a ton. Damn, what a trip that was. She definitely has a lot that she uncovers about herself. So, like I said, understatement. This was a really beautifully shot film. The cinematography really stood out for me. The landscape scenes of like where she goes in Scotland are beautiful. The indoor cathedral scenes are really well shot. Like there's a lot here visually that you just kind of like sets a tone, I think, in this film, which is great. The performances were strong. I think Jenna Malone was good as always. But as I mentioned, Danny Huston was great. Really enjoyed him, and in the scenes he's in, he just is kind of like, I feel like he's almost like a powerhouse in this film. But overall, there was nothing wrong with any of the performances. And the reason why I'm saying this is if you look this movie up online, you're going to hear some mixed reviews, and I think that's interesting. And I did get some mixed reviews from some people as I posted about this film. There's always an element of airiness in religious horror films in general, and this one definitely had those things. I think for me, things were just a little complicated until the big reveal, and I understood that what they were going for. But leading up to it, I wasn't exactly sure. And I think the plot line may have had something to do with that, but also may have been somewhat intentional to kind of keep a level of mystery. Overall, I will say I enjoyed the film, but I can understand the level of criticism. It had more potential than I think the film even realized. And while I can appreciate the reveal, I don't think it upgraded the film to me. And I may have actually enjoyed some of the earlier buildup as opposed to, knowing the reveal, if that makes sense. So I would say check this out, especially if you like religious horror films. It does capture what I think makes this subgenre great, like that airiness, mystery, intrigue, all that stuff. But what I can say is like it's a little convoluted at times. What else? Yeah, it just, like I said, it just has this potential to be a movie that I feel like would have been great. It just doesn't get there, but there's so much here that's interesting and worthwhile. So check it out. All right. Amongst Wolves, Consecration, check them out. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you later.